Yabusio, my name's Sonal Pam, and we're doing vlogs in the car now because there are people in the house and I talk loud and don't want to bother them. End of the story. So, ghosts. We're making a follow-up video to my last week's video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's pretty cool. It's pretty epic. Nothing else need to be said about that, but I wanted to go into just kind of reflecting on that experience and being like, is it real? Is it not real? I think the answer to that for me right now is unsure. I think there are a lot of reasons on both sides as to why it is and why it isn't. Being at the Balladerry Inn, it was a bit of both. There were reasons for me to believe, like, no, this is not true, this is completely false, why would you tell me this? And then the other thing, it was like, wow, am I really talking to something? I mean, it kind of seems like I'm talking to someone and I'm getting answers that I wouldn't just make up in my head, I think. So there's things on both sides. I don't want to say, yes, ghosts are totally real and that you can see them in their physical forms and all these pictures that people come up with are real and you can use a freaking Xbox kinetic camera to find ghosts. Like, there are elements of ghost hunting that I think are very exaggerated and are very just like make no sense whatsoever. And technology, the really bad thing about technology is that it can be easily forged or easily faked. Pictures can be photoshopped, recordings can be faked, technology like the Xbox Kinect, it could be just footage that they're replaying or anything else like that. It could be programmed to show something that really isn't there. So using technology, I don't trust that side of it at all. Like with the Kinect camera, just the way that it's supposed to show people, even though like when you use it for the Xbox, it doesn't even work regularly. Why would it work for beings that you can't even see, you know? The technology side, like using the spirit box, I thought that was a bunch of baloney. Like, why would they talk through radio waves? How would radio waves pick that up? Or we would hear like random noises in it and then we would just start coming up with words. People would be saying like, did that really just say Jim Beam whiskey? And I'm just like, what, how did you hear that? And I was editing this footage and I kept replaying it and it was just like, no, that's not what they said. Or I heard multiple things. There's a part that says listen and I thought that said go to sleep. It's just like there's infinite interpretations of what these sounds form into, so I don't really trust the technology side of it. Now, the stuff that I'm a little more interested about and something that I believe a little bit more is like more physical evidence or using tools that aren't technology based. You didn't really see it a whole lot because I never got good angles. I just shot you up at the ceiling so that you couldn't see anything because I'm a dumbass. And it was the dowsing rods. I didn't think to bring them in here, but the way that they answer questions with that, I was very interested in, and I was talking to two people, mainly in the house. I talked about this in my video a little bit. There's a colonel, and then there's a soldier, and they both like talk to each other. They're the only people that like know each other, and the colonel doesn't like talking at all. He gets very angry very easily, and Yvonne, I doubt that's his real name because I got his full name and I've been researching it and I haven't been able to find anything, so that could just be another reason supporting why this is a whole bunch of bullshit. But besides that, Yvonne answered questions like, what year did you die? How did you die? He got shot by a cannonball, and the colonel died by friendly fire. Yvonne blames himself for that because he's the one that caused the friendly fire, and they both died in very close proximity to each other. And I really wish I asked them more questions because once I actually left, I thought like I should have asked if they actually died in that house, if they died like after the Civil War was over and things like that, or what regiment were you in. I didn't think about it at the time because I was just having more of a conversation with like, what do you like to eat for breakfast? Are you planning on having lunch? If so, what? I wanted to talk to them as if they were people, you know? And then I did have one experience during that conversation and was like, oh shit, like what is happening? Basically, we were sitting at a dining table and Yvonne was in one chair and the corporal, he's a corporal. The corporal was sitting across in the same room, but in another chair that was like farther away from the table. And I started asking what clothes they were wearing because Yvonne answered saying that he was wearing his full uniform, shoes and all. But then when I went to the corporal's clothes, I asked if he was wearing shoes and Yvonne said no, and I could just feel like it made me unable to move. For those who have had surgery before, you know that feeling you have right before surgery when the medication starts kicking in and you feel like you can't think, if you got out of the bed you would fall out, or you're just like completely out of control of like your body, almost like you're not completely out of control, but it's just like you feel that way. That was the feeling that I had when the corporal was standing right next to me. He got very, very angry when I asked if he was wearing shoes. And I think it has something to do with like people stealing your shoes, like when you die in that. And it's just like it was an experience to be like, they can touch you in some regard, or you can feel them in some regard. And I was just like, oh shit, like this is happening. That was like the main experience, and then just going out and feeling when I was leaving, like the corporal pushing me out because he really didn't like me by the end of the experience, and then Yvonne being like touching me or standing behind me. I could feel him, and it was so weird. I want to kind of end this by just saying like, you don't have to believe me. I'm not saying that this is 100%, this is just my anecdotal experience, and I wanted to talk about it because I didn't have a lot of time to talk about it in the vlog itself last week, and I didn't really reflect on it that much. I was just trying to experience it as much as I could before leaving. Overall, I would say that ghosts are real in some extent. A lot of the technology I don't believe in. A lot of the things that my tour guide said, I was very iffy on like her background and things. It's just like, I don't know if I can really trust that or not. I'm typically a skeptical person, so being able to just talk about this and say like, this is how it happened and this is how I feel about it, it's good, but it's also like really weird because I don't want to be like giving out anecdotal evidence, because it's like anecdotal evidence really means nothing. But at the same point, if you're watching this video, then maybe you care about that a little bit. So thank you so much for sticking with me in this video, and I will see y'all next time. Toodles!